Hey, hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Windows Server 2016 Web Application Proxy. Direct access and VPN are both great remote access technologies, and the two of them combining the two of them together can provide a complete remote access solution for your organization without having to pay for or work with a third-party solution. Better still, in Windows Server 2016, there is yet another component of the remote access role available to us. This third piece of the remote access story is the Web Application Proxy, WAP. This is essentially a reverse proxy mechanism, giving you the ability to take some HTTP and HTTPS applications that are hosted inside your corporate network and publish them securely to the internet. Any of you who have been working with Microsoft technologies in the perimeter networking space over the last few years will probably recognize a product called Forefront Unified Access Gateway, UAG, that accomplished similar functionality. UAG is a comprehensive SSL VPN solution, also designed for publishing internal applications out to the internet via SSL. It was considerably more powerful than a simple reverse proxy, including components such as pre-authentication, SSTP, VPN, and RDS gateway, and direct access itself could even be run through UAG. If all of your mobile workers have access to launch either direct access or VPN, then you probably don't have any use for something like WAP. However, with the growing cloud mentality, it is quite common for users to expect that they can open up a web browser from any computer anywhere and gain access to some of their applications. Document access is now often provided by web services such as SharePoint. Email access can be had remotely for any computer by tapping in Outlook. Web access. So many applications and so much data can be accessed through only a web browser, and this enables employees to access this data without needing to establish a full-blown corporate tunnel like a VPN. So the real case use for WAP, home computers that that you do not want to be VPN connected. This way, you don't have to worry as much about the health and status of the home or user-owned computers, since the only interaction they're having with your company is through the web browser. This limits the potential for sinister activity to flow into your network from these computers. As you can see, a technology like WAP does certainly have its place in the remote access market. In time, I hope that WAP will be a true replacement for Unified Access Gateway. UAG ran on Windows Server 2008 R2 and has now been officially disconnected as a Microsoft product. The official Microsoft replacement for UAG is the WAP role. It is not yet nearly as comprehensive, but they are working on improving it. Currently, WAP is useful for publishing access to simple web applications. You can also publish access to rich clients that use HTTP basic, like ActiveSync. Also included is the ability to publish data to clients that use MSOFBA, such as when users try to pull down corporate data from their Word or Excel applications running on the local computer. So far, the only real world uses for WAP that I have seen are publishing remote access to things like Exchange and SharePoint environments, And this is no small thing, as these are technologies that almost everyone uses. So it can certainly be beneficial to your company to implement WAP for publishing secure access to these resources. It's better than netting directly to your Exchange server. Another useful way that you can utilize a WAP server is when setting up Active Directory Federation Services, ADFS, in your network. ADFS is a technology designed to enable single sign-on for users and federation with other companies, and so it involves taking traffic coming in from the internet into your internal network. Traditionally, there have been a server component called an ADFS proxy that you install at the edge of your network to handle this traffic, but now you have a choice. You can still implement a standalone ADFS proxy server, or you can instead provide the ADFS proxy capabilities from your web server. This better unifies the remote access solution, bringing your inbound ADFS traffic through the official remote access server rather than needing a separate ADFS proxy server. Requirements for WAP. Unfortunately, the ability to make use of the web application proxy comes with a pretty stingy requirement. You must have ADFS installed in your environment to be able to use it, even to test it, because the WAP configuration is stored inside ADFS. None of the WAP configuration information is stored on the remote access server itself, which makes for a lightweight server that can be easily moved, changed, or added to. The downside to this is that you must have ADFS running in your environment so that WAP can have a place to store that configuration information. While a tight integration of ADFS does mean that we have better authentication options, and the users can take advantage of the ADFS single sign-on to their applications that are published through WAP. So far, this has proven to be a huge roadblock to implementing for any smaller size business. Many folks are not yet running ADFS, and if the only reason they are looking into implementing ADFS is so that they can publish a few web applications to the internet, they probably aren't going to invest the time and effort just to make that happen. One thing to keep in mind if you are interested in using WAP and are therefore looking at a requirement for ADFS is that ADFS can certainly be used for other functions. In fact, one of the most common uses of it at the present time is the integration with Office 365. If you are planning for on thinking of incorporating Office 365 into your environment, ADFS is a great tool that can enhance the authentication capabilities for that traffic. Server 2016 improvements to WAP. Many consider the web application proxy to be in the toddler phase. It has been alive for a little while now, but is still learning how to do new things. Let's discuss some of the improvements that have been made to WAP inside Windows Server 2016. Pre-authentication for HTTP basic. There are two different ways that users can authenticate to applications that are being published by web application proxy: pre-authentication or pass-through authentication. When publishing an application with pre-authentication, this means that users will have to stop by the ADFS interface to authenticate themselves before they are allowed through to the web application itself. In my eyes, Pre-authentication is a critical component to any reverse proxy, and I would have to be stuck between a rock and a hard place in order to externally publish an application that did not require pre-authentication. However, the second option is to do pass-through authentication, and it does exactly that. When you publish access to an application and use pass-through authentication, all WAP is doing is shuttling the packets from the internet to the application server. The users are able to get to the web application without authentication. So in theory, anyone can hit the front website of your application. From there, the application itself will likely require the user to authenticate, but there is no man in the middle protection happening. That web application is available for the public to view. As you can tell, I do not recommend taking this route. We already know that WAP has the capability to authenticate web applications, but in the past versions, it could not do any form of pre-auth on HTTP basic applications, like when a company wanted to publish access to Exchange ActiveSync. This inability leaves ActiveSync a little bit too exposed to the outside world and is a security risk. Thankfully, this has changed in Windows Server 2016, as you can now pre-authenticate traffic streams that are using HTTP basic. HTTP or HTTPS redirection. Users don't like going out of their way or wasting time by having to remember that they need to enter HTTPS:// in front of the URL when they access applications. They would rather just remember email.contoso.com. The inevitability of WAP to do HTTP or to HTTPS redirection has been an annoyance and a hindrance to adoption so far, but that has finally changed. WAP inside Server 2016 brings the capability of WAP itself to handle the HTTP to HTTPS redirection, meaning that users do not need to type HTTPS into their browser address bar any longer. They can simply type in the DNS name of the site and let WAP handle the translations. Client addresses forwarded to applications in the reverse proxy and SSL VPN world. We occasionally run across applications that require knowing what the client's local IP address is. While this requirement doesn't happen very often and is typically segregated to what we would call legacy applications, it does still happen when the backend application needs to know what the client's IP address is. This presents a big challenge with reverse proxy solutions. When the user's traffic flows through WAP or any other reverse proxy, it is similar to a NAT where the source IP address information in these packets change. The back-end application server is unable to determine the client's own IP address, and trouble ensues. The web application proxy now has the ability to propagate the client-side IP address through to the back-end application server, alleviating the problem. Publishing remote desktop gateway. One of the items that UAG is commonly used for is publishing access to remote desktop services. UAG was essentially its own remote desktop gateway, which gave you the ability to publish access to RDSH servers, individual RDP connections to desktop computers, such as in a VDI implementation, or even access to remote applications. Unfortunately, WAP cannot do any of this, even in the new version. But the fact that they have added a little bit of functionality here. It means movement in the right direction is happening. What has been improved regarding WAP and remote desktop is that you can now use WAP to publish access to the remote desktop gateway server itself. Traditionally, an RD gateway site on the edge of the network and connects external users through to the internal remote desktop servers. By placing WAP in front of the RD gateway, it allows stronger pre-authentication for the remote desktop services and creates a bigger separation between the internal and external networks. All of my fingers are crossed that we will continue to see improvements in this area and that WAP can be expanded to handle traffic like remote desktop natively without even needing an RD gateway in the mix. Improved administrative console. The original version of WAP inside Windows Server 2012 R2 was best served using PowerShell to implement it. You can still certainly use PowerShell in order to create your publishing rules if you choose to, but the remote access management console has now been improved as it relates to the web application proxy. Before you see it in the console, you need to make sure that the appropriate box was checked during the remote access role installation. If you did not select web application proxy when you first installed that role, revisit the add remove roles function inside Server Manager in order to add WAP to this server. Since we now have a unified management platform for configuring all aspects of our remote access environment, simply visit the same remote access management tool that you use to configure direct access and VPN, and you will see that web application proxy is now available under the configuration section near the top left part of your screen. Summary. Technology of today demands for most organizations to enable their employees to work from wherever they are. More and more organizations are hiring a work from home workforce and need a secure, stable, and efficient way to provide access of corporate data and applications to these mobile workers. The remote access role in Windows Server 2016 is designed to do exactly that, with 3 different ways of providing remote access to corporate resources. IT departments have never had so much remote access technology available at their fingertips, built right into the Windows operating system that they already own. If you are still supporting a third-party or legacy VPN, you should definitely explore the new capabilities provided here and discover how much they could save for your business. Direct access is particularly impressive and compelling. It's a brand new way of looking at remote access. Automatic connectivity includes always on machines that are constantly being patched and updated because they are always connected to your management servers. You can improve user productivity and network security at the same time. These 2 things are usually oxymorons in the IT world, but with direct access, they hold hands and sing songs together. Next, we are going to take a look into some of the security functions built into your Windows Server 2016 operating systems, and at some of the way that your servers can be hardened to provide even better security that comes out of the box. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.